the intersection of gaming, esports and sports. And when I think of esports, I think of the Global Esports Federation. And when I think of the Global Esports Federation, I think of this gentleman. His name is Mark Chay. Would you make him welcome, please? Singapore legend. And to ask him the tough questions, would you welcome back up on the stage Akshat from NODWIN? Come on up, guys. Welcome. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Mark. How are you? You got a mic? Yep.
Hello, everyone. Post-lunch, some of us are here, some of us are going to have fun. I'm going to have more fun than this guy. But for everyone, Mark, why don't you tell us what you do? And actually, what you do, not right now, but your Singapore story. Some of the people here are not from Singapore.
Great, thanks so much, Akshat. You know, it's always a pleasure to be here at All That Matters to talk about what matters in this space called gaming and esports. Had the pleasure of actually being here. This is the third time, third year in a row. I guess people know me in Singapore as a swimmer, right? So I swam in 2000 and 2004 Olympic Games. I was a nominated member of parliament, speaking about sports and fitness during the COVID pandemic. And currently, I am the Chief Development Officer of the Global Esports Federation. I'm Global Esports Federation. We are an organization that is set up to bring together the world of esports. We were set up in Singapore way back in, well, it wasn't way back in 2019, but in December 2019, it's headquartered in Singapore, and you know, I'm employee number 2. Basically brought in to set up the infrastructure, the processes, legal, finance, boring stuff in organizations, but essential stuff. And currently, I'm looking at the future business and future partnerships to grow esports in many emerging markets.
Brilliant, and that's why he's legend, Singapore legend. But you know, you've been an Olympian. You've looked at that part, and just for context, the other data point I want to go ahead and bring in is, for ever and ever, we were trying always as esports companies, athletes, fans, to be in the Olympics, and that came true. That came true a couple of months ago now, where the Olympics actually went and announced that there is going to be an Olympic esports games next year, and have given a commitment for around a 10-year run around that. So, video gaming became competitive, competitive became esports, esports is now in the Olympics, which is a really cool part. Do you think we need the Olympics?
That's a tricky question, but yes, I think the whole idea of sports and gaming and esports intersecting, it's synonymous now, especially during the pandemic when we all needed to be entertained, when we needed new content, and a lot of people had shifted into actually playing games as well as watching people play games. That also sparked some technological trends as well. Wearable technology, technology to enable people to use their bodies as controllers, controlling avatars and competing not only just locally, but internationally as well in real time and virtual reality. The Olympic journey was something which I think brings a lot of credibility, legitimacy, and prestige to the whole esports industry. And we're very happy and very proud in Singapore that this whole journey of the Olympic esports games started in Singapore about in June 2023, about a year ago. I see Peggy here. She was part of the local organizing committee. I was the co-chair of it as well. And it was really proof of concept that virtual simulated sports, this genre of esports, right, was able to reach out to new demographics of players, athletes, was able to inspire people, and also showcase the Olympic values, friendship, respect, and excellence. Fast forward 1 year, on the advent of the Olympic Games, the IOC session in Paris, IOC approved the actual organization of the Olympic Esports Games together with the Saudi Arabia National Olympic Committee. And this is milestone. And this whole idea of reaching out to new demographics is not new to the Olympic movement, right? I think we've seen new sports being introduced, things like skateboarding, BMX, speed climbing, surfing, right? These were sports that brought that refreshed the Olympic movement. But what's so special about the Olympic Esports Games is that it's essentially the fifth property of the Olympic movement. You have the Summer Olympics, the Winter Olympics, Summer Youth, Winter Youth, and now the Olympic Esports Games. So we're all really excited about it because it's not only just featuring the games that were featured in Singapore, which were inspired by actual traditional sports. We also think that it would bring in traditional esports guys in the mobile games, the fighting games, maybe first-person shooters. So we'll see what happens there.
That's brilliant. And as this journey of our industry goes and we have this legitimacy layer that's been built out, I've always found sports to be, about camaraderie and competition and for young people, even a lesson on what is failure and how to deal with failure. And just to go out and there, because failure has become such a bad word for a lot of people. I think sports goes and brings that. And I think esports will definitely go ahead and transcend those boundaries. But as we move forward, and I saw that little hesitation around you, which says first-person shooters, is there what's the journey for a publisher? If you're a publisher or a brand that wants to have your game here, Rocket League, for example, as part of FIFA, the FIFA Federation did not choose the EA game or any other football simulation game. They chose Rocket League as their title of choice. That's some of the interesting work that is happening. So if you're a publisher and you're in Scandinavia, you're in New York, you're in Berlin, you're in Tokyo, what would it take, and how does the GEF partner with publishers to go ahead and help them navigate this? My game is an esports game, or at an Olympic esports game. Well,
because the Olympic Esports Games hasn't really been announced, like in terms of like what titles there are and which are the...
Oh, actually, that's a good one. So can you tell us what the process is right now? Where are we and what will happen next?
Well, so the IOC session, which is basically all the board for the IOC, has said, yes, there will be an Olympic Esports Games. It's likely to be in 2025. Go and write a paper on it, right, and propose what it is. And they said that they would be working with the Saudi Arabia National Olympic Committee to develop what the first Olympic Esports Games is going to look like. That's in the process. Of course, it's been maybe about 6 weeks since the Olympic Games, so they're busy working on it, taking inputs from the various international organizations, like you've mentioned. Some of them are sports organizations. Some of them are esports organizations, like the Global Esports Federation and the International Esports Federation. So we're all lending inputs, but I think the official announcement of what it's going to look like still hasn't been done yet. But looking at what Singapore had produced with the Olympic Esports Week last year, which was a showcase of 10 virtual simulated sports. And why these 10? We're talking about things like Gran Turismo, where they worked with FIA, Virtual Taekwondo, where they worked with World Taekwondo, or we talk about first-person shooters, right? They had Fortnite, that was working with the International Shooting Federation. And there's a very good reason for this, because when you look at International Olympic Committee memberships, the international federations, the global bodies that are associated with IOC, with esports strategies, were the ones that were actually present at the Olympic Esports Week. But I think back to this whole like first-person shooter, again, it has to show the values, right? Non-violence, friendship, respect, excellence, and with Fortnite, although it's a first-person shooter, you're shooting someone else. What actually Fortnite did together with International Shooting Federation, ISSF, was that they had like some sort of a race course where you're shooting targets. You're talking about precision and speed, and
so it became more like the pentathlon or the one where
yes, where you're shooting targets. You're going through obstacle course, and actually came down to probably 0.1 of a second to crown the champion in the second place, the final. So it was really exciting as well.
And for a lot of us who are sitting out there, most of us know something about either sports or gaming, and that's why we're sitting down here. What role is GEF playing to bridge this, let's call it the monetization gap, or how does someone sitting in this room get associated with this really complicated world out there?
Well, I would love to say that there's a roadmap to actually bring a publisher to become a partner of the International Federation to be part of the Olympic Esports Games, but there isn't any, right? But with us, we have memberships with a lot of the continental federations, as well as we have an International Federation Committee comprising now 16 international federations worldwide. I think our latest partner was FIDE, which is the International Chess Federation. Right, so we come together maybe two, 3 times a year to actually talk about esports, strategies in esports, how to reach new demographics, and how to use technology to expose new people, new players to their sports while maintaining the values and integrity of the sports.
And if you're all of us have contacts out there. If you're a city, and maybe the example of Azerbaijan you want to go ahead and give. If you're a city and you want to go ahead and you'll not get the Olympics, but you want like a your version of the Olympics, mini Olympics per se. Does GEF go ahead and assist with that? Do you have a product portfolio that can help countries actually get there?
Yes. Okay. So actually, maybe I give an example of 2023. In 2023, when you talk about a milestone year for esports, right? It was an amazing year because number one, you had the first time ever the Asian Games having esports as a full medal sport. So the esports players that represented their countries, they were getting the same medal as the guys going to do swimming or tennis or athletics, right? And it was recognized as a full medal sport. GF, with our partnerships with the European Olympic Committees as well as Pan Am Sports, we produce, I would say, parallel championships, esports championships, with the European Games esports championships and the Pan Am Games esports championships as an exhibition sport in parallel to these major games. And this would be, and they were a great showcase to show the organizers of the European Olympic Committees, European Games, as well as the Pan Am Games, that esports does have a place in order to attract players and audiences. And fun fact, actually at the Asian Games, the tickets that cost the most, that were oversubscribed, was actually esports.
I've heard that the president of the International Olympic Association went and saw the games, and then he stayed in the esports place for the longest.
It's extremely entertaining. It's a different kind of entertainment, right? When you talk about the convergence of sports and gaming and esports, a central part of it is actually entertainment. And with all the social media platforms out there that are showing esports, I think it's great. But fast forward to so in 2023, it was a great year where we saw esports as part of the mainstream sports calendar, with the European Games, Pan Am Games, Asian Games, and of course the Olympic Esports Week in Singapore. But fast forward to 2024, right? There's a lot of demand for not just professional championships tournaments, right? Where you see professional teams playing professional teams. This year we had the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia for 8 weeks, right? Where they had, I think it was the highest prize pool ever, right? But there's also a lot of demand for national participation, like showcasing of values, where national flags are paramount over professional money being played. And of course, we're partnering with NODWIN Games to enter some of these emerging markets where we're able to bring top-class esports players to these countries, showcase what esports is and the potential of esports in inspiring future generations of athletes and using esports as a vehicle for social change.
And as we've got this really interesting structures come in, if one of us has a brand that is wants to be associated, what's the brand partnership roadmap for the GEF and all our partners as we go forward?
The first call I make is to NODWIN to actually talk about what the brand wants to achieve. And GF, I think we function very differently, right? Where we don't tell people what we want. We actually go to people and say, what do you want to achieve? And by the way, we have these partners, these publishers, these games, these promotional companies that are able to deliver what you require. And we're working in various markets to deliver different genres of esports to different emerging markets.
And so if you've got a brand layer going, you've got a country layer going, you've got the publishers going, and obviously the recognition that comes in with global recognition, with Olympics level sports or continental level sports. I will ask you this question. A lot of us consider this word federations to be very political, very boring, very corrupt, very not a nice word, right? And unfortunately that just becomes, and then unfortunately there's two of them. There's the IESF, there is you. Can you tell us about why do we need two, and also the fact that you've actually signed a marquee partnership agreement between each other? Can you tell us a lot more about the world of governance around esports?
Great. Well, that's a very complex question that I will attempt to simplify. And I think the central theme about this is that esports is very diverse. You have many people, stakeholders in this space. It's not like a regular international sports federation where they own the sports. They talk to national federations, and they have different programs to help with emerging talents, with coaching competencies, as well as technical officiating and sanctioning of their event. Here with esports, you have to bring in the publishers, you have to bring in governments, you have to talk about public education. And nobody likes to be governed. Nobody likes to have rules imposed on them. But I think if you want to talk about standardization as well as forming universal code of ethics and values, and we are working with UNESCO on some of these, it's important to actually bring everyone together in the room and have adult conversations. I think at GF, we don't like to think of ourselves as a governing body. We think of ourselves as a convening body where we bring everyone together. In fact, we even have a commission that is bringing 5 or 6 of the publishers, the largest publishers, to actually sit down in a room and actually talk about how they can add standards to esports such that, you know what, more people would play, participate, and game responsibly, right? And last year, you're right, we had a MOU together with the IESF to actually talk about areas of collaboration, where we talk at each other's events, we deconflict the scheduling, and we really talk about areas where we can collaborate. And I think with the Olympic Esports Games and this big announcement where you have international sports federations, if we want to bring in the traditional esports, you definitely need some sort of a organizing, convening body, not a governing body, to actually talk to different publishers and have qualifications, how you can bring someone who's not exposed to esports to come through the ranks and be a world contender, like what a lot of the international federations do. So that is what we've been talking about.
We have a couple of minutes. I have a couple of questions which I'll keep in my back pocket, but if anyone wants to ask any question, feel free. Raise your hands, and we'll go ahead and do this. And it's okay if you don't have a question, because I have a couple I can go ahead and try and ask. Yeah, we'll wait for someone to go ahead and raise their hands. If you're a young person and you have a parent, we are sitting in Asia, that overhang saying gaming is still a waste of your time in life, but you're fairly good. Is this the best time in your life right now to go ahead and become, hopefully, an Olympic athlete in esports?
I think the idea of being an Olympic athlete, we still haven't reached that stage where you can talk about esports being the Olympics. There's some talks about how it potentially can be as a virtual simulated sports in 28, but under some international federations. I think a good example is Taekwondo, where they'll have the actual Taekwondo physical tournament and they have the virtual tournament, or in cycling, right, where you have road, velodrome, mountain, BMX, and potentially virtual. But in terms of, like, let's say a mobile game, let's say Dota, MLBB, Honor of Kings, or a fighting game like Street Fighter in there, I think that's still a stretch, right? But again, that's why you have a special purpose vehicle, a fifth property called the Olympic Esports Games, to actually grow this theme of esports as actual sport, right? And I think in addition to what I was talking about in how the pandemic, right, COVID-19 has actually helped esports, there's a lot of knowledge sharing, there's a lot of participation, a lot of people interested in it, and I think I see a lot of, and as a coach myself, right, I used to coach Ping Xiu, para athlete. She just came back from Paris with 2 gold medals. There's a lot of borrowings on sports science. And if you think about the kinds of skills that are required to succeed in esports, things like fast reflexes, great motor skills, hand-eye coordination, mental agility, mental stamina, there's no way to actually develop these without actually developing your physical body, without getting the right nutrition in, the right rest and sports science in. So I think, you've got to give it a few more years, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be some acceptance of esports in the Olympic Games.
Last question, if no one is there. Crystal ball gazing. How is 2025 going to look for the Global Esports Federation?
Well, it's an exciting time for esports in general. I think with partners like NODWIN, we're looking at emerging markets. We're looking at how we can bring the different genres of esports to markets where they don't necessarily see esports. Great example is Africa, right? We don't see a lot of esports in Africa, but huge untapped market in terms of viewership participation, in terms of accessibility of equipment, technology. I think there's great potential here. I think if you look at the hotspots of growth in esports, Southeast Asia is one, right? Because mobile technology is available. Telecom, the telcos are established as well. So I don't see why that shouldn't happen in Africa. But I think there's also going to be the the Olympic Esports Games. We've got a great lineup of events with our marquee event, the Global Esports Games, with the World Championship, World Championships. We have a few host cities for the Global Esports Tours that are bringing professional athletes, the top teams, to different cities, emerging markets. And of course, our World Connected series that we're looking at development programs for markets that don't necessarily have the coaching infrastructure or organizing capabilities to groom and develop the next generation of athletes.
There you go, gentlemen. Everyone, this is Mark Chay telling us what is the Global Esports Federation and the roadmap for esports and sports coming together. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.